Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on another cool and amazing gun. This is the B&T APC10 Pro. Now this particular example is a pistol and is on loan to the channel from one of my local friends and subscribers, Denton. So this is the first gun that he has lent to the channel, and let me tell you, he has one amazing firearms collection, and he is so nice to let me shoot some of his awesome examples, and this is one of them. Now, you guys know I'm a huge fan of B&T. I own a lot of B&T firearms, but this one is a first in two categories. Number one, I have never shot anything B&T chambered in 10mm. Secondly, I have never really tried out any of the Glock lowers for these APC guns, and I'm really excited to see how that turns out. So before we get into my initial thoughts, impressions, what I like and don't like, I want to always thank all of my sponsors. First and foremost, Denton, thank you for letting me borrow this. And my Patreons. You guys know that I'm a demonetized channel, and so all the people that support my channel on Patreon, it means so much to me, because you guys know that firearms channels across YouTube are really struggling just to keep the lights on, and the Patreon supporters give me a little bit every month to help me provide for ammo and all of the other time and cost that go into producing this content, so it means the world to me. And I also want to thank my primary sponsor for all of these range reports, who helps me get ammunition, and that is Brownworks. If you guys are brand new to the channel, maybe you're checking out this video for the first time because you love B&T firearms like myself, well, I'm asking you to go check out my sponsor, Brownworks. Mark at Brownworks makes custom grips for many different types of firearms, from Colt 1911s to Berettas to CZs, Rock Island Armories, you name it, and every grip that he makes is custom made. It is a one-off, special, unique item for you and your firearm. He can make grips out of a ton of different exotic woods and materials. He can put on custom logos. Everything is made to order. And if you don't see something on his website that you're interested in, please give him an email. Contact him. He will get back to you immediately. He's an awesome guy, an amazing craftsman, and most importantly, he supports the Texas Gun Vault. So I ask you guys, if you love the content that you see here on the channel and firearms content in general on YouTube, you guys have to understand that we are under constant assault from YouTube. And so people like Brownworks and companies like Brownworks that support these channels go a long way in helping us continue to make this content. So please go check out his website, see all that he has to offer. I think you'll be really surprised and you will not be disappointed. And if you're interested, please click the affiliate link in the description and the pinned comment, as well as use the discount code to get 10% off your first grips from Brownworks. You guys will not be disappointed. Go over there, check out, see what he has to offer, and tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, so let's talk about this fantastic pistol. And yes, this is legally a pistol here in the United States. This is using the tail hook pistol stabilizing brace on a telescoping mechanism. So if you wanted to put a real stock on this, you would have to fill out the ATF Form 1 and SBR, but this is a pistol. It uses the Glock lower, as I mentioned, and this is one of the firsts for me. I've never really tried out any of the B&T Glock lowers. When you hold this gun, you realize the quality and the craftsmanship that go into building this firearm. The upper receiver is aluminum, the lower receiver is polymer, and it almost looks like the two materials just meld into each other. I am just blown away by the machining and the craftsmanship. And even when you field strip these guns and you take the bolt out, it feels like it runs on ball bearings. It is machined so precise. And that's just something that you come to expect from anything from Switzerland. They are known for fine watches, and I can tell you they're known for fine firearms. Now, this gun is also the Pro Series, which I think is kind of like the Generation 2 of the APC, which I believe stands for Advanced Police Carbine. And these were all originally designed as submachine guns. Now, being a civilian, I could only have a semi-automatic only, but they are still fun as heck. But being a Generation 2, there are a few things that are upgrades compared to the Generation 1. Now, I personally own a Generation 1 APC 45. So this is one that I did SBR. It does have the folding brace on it. And some of the complaints that people had about these guns, B&T did change. First and foremost, they did get rid of these little chintzy flip-up plastic sights. Now, the whole point of these little flip-up plastic sights was the idea that you could break them off and simply replace them. They're not really supposed to be run with iron sights. You do want to run these with an optic. But the problem with these two is they are really chintzy. And if you did break them, I have never even seen any of them for sale. So running an optic is definitely the way to go. And I do wish that on the Generation 1s, you had the Picatinny rail all the way out to the end of the receiver, both the front and the back. Now, they did change that on the Generation 2. Another thing people did not like about this is the charging handle is reciprocating. So the charging handle is built right into the bolt. Now, the originals would have had one that stuck out. This is one that I replaced with a kind of a folding one, and that's a really nice upgrade, but it still is a reciprocating charging handle. And then finally, when it comes to the lower receiver, the grip is molded into the lower. You can't replace that if you wanted to put on some type of AR-15 style grip. But when they came out with the Pro Series, they addressed all of that. The charging handle has been moved up to the front of the gun. It is ambidextrous and it is non-reciprocating. The lower receiver has been changed where you can replace this with any AR-15 style of grip. And the Picatinny rail goes all the way to the end of the receiver, and they got rid of those sights, and they do provide backup iron sights that simply clamp on or screw on to the gun if you choose to use those. Now, Denton chose not to use those and only run an optic, and that's personally fine. In my APC10 Pro, you can see I did install the backup iron sights on mine, and this one also is SBR'd and uses the telescoping stock, and I think that thing looks absolutely fantastic. I love this gun. It is just awesome. So let's talk about the things I like and don't like about this gun. I think I've already hit on most of the things I love about this. The quality, the build, I even like the caliber. This is, I think, the perfect platform for 10mm. I'm not a big fan of 10mm in pistols. I just don't think you get the true and best ballistics that that cartridge can provide. But when you have a little bit longer barrel, you get all of that power out of that cartridge. And I think it is a very formidable cartridge. But there are a few things about this gun that I don't like. And let's talk about those. First off, this Glock lower I could take or leave. And the main reason is magazines. Now, I have talked about this in other range reports with PCCs that take Glock mags. Glock magazines are designed for pistols, not pistol caliber carbines. I don't like the fact that they are angled a little bit. Now, this is a stock Glock magazine. I do have a few here that didn't provided for the report that are the extended ones. Now, these are not made by Glock. These are made by SHK Mag, made in Korea. I don't think Glock makes any of the extended 10mm mags, and that's another downside. Obviously, you're going to want to have something like this if it's legal where you live. That's just going to make this gun so much more effective and so much more fun. But all of these aftermarket Glock mags, maybe with the exception of Magpuls, are all known for running a little bit spotty. And maybe it's a little bit foreshadowing, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the range report. So I don't like the fact that the magazines are a little bit curved. I sure wish that B&T would design a 10mm magazine like they do on the APC45. So this is a B&T magazine. It is proprietary, so it is a little bit on the expensive side, but I do wish that they would design their own 10mm magazine for these guns and have a standard APC lower. Now, I know a lot of people like these PCCs with the Glock mags. Are like, why wouldn't you want to have a pistol and a PCC chambered in the same caliber that use the same magazines? For me, it's more about function. I just don't think these Glock mags are as reliable, and I know some people are going to say, prove it. They just don't seem to work as well for me, and you'll see later in the range report, as a double stack magazine that's designed for a PCC. Now, as I said, some people are going to hate me for that opinion, and that's perfectly fine. I just find it weird you're using a pistol magazine to run a pistol caliber carbine. It's not a deal breaker for me, but I really think that B&T should come out with a proprietary 10mm magazine and probably would hold more ammunition and not have the spotty reliability of kind of weird aftermarket magazines made in countries where people can't even own them. So now let's talk about another thing I'm not a big fan of, and and that is the lack of rail covers. Now up here on the front, because this is a pistol, you can't have a vertical foregrip. I'm a huge fan of vertical foregrips, and I don't know if there's really enough Picatinny rail up here to have an angled foregrip, which is legal. Now, when you hold this, they do a very nice job of dehorning this, but I kind of wish that they would come with proprietary or maybe B&T marked rail covers. Now I know you can go and buy rail covers anywhere and put them on, but I really feel like they should provide a couple of those small ladder ones, because if you buy the longer ladder ones, you have to cut those. If B&T could just simply make those and install those on their pistols, I don't think it would cost that much, and I think it would be a nice option for those people, of course, that are running this as a pistol and have to hold it from up here. I end up running all of these B&T pistols by using the magwell hold, but I would definitely like to be able to hold it up here. And finally, the last thing I would like to see changed on this is I wish, besides the 3-lug system, they would offer barrels that are also threaded. Some people don't have the 3-lug system when it comes to their suppressors, and having a direct thread would be fantastic, and that would also give you more options when it comes to any type of muzzle device that you may like. Now, a cool thing though about only having the 3-lug system is I believe in some states where it's illegal to have assault weapon features, and one of those always is a threaded barrel. This still allows you to have muzzle devices, but it gets around the assault weapons ban. So I see the pros and cons of that. But that's really the only thing about this gun that I'm not really a big fan of. But everything else, it just hits home runs all over the place. This is just such a fantastic and well-built firearm, and I cannot speak enough about it. Well, let's get this thing to the range. Now, first off, I know that a lot of people are going to ask, what red dot am I running on this? Well, this is Denton's red dot. This is a Trijicon MRO. I actually find these are fantastic for the APC series of guns. I even own one myself on my APC 45. So let's get to the range. I'm gonna put the target out at 10 yards, load one of these longer stick magazines up, just see how it performs. I'm curious to see what the recoil is like, because this is just a direct blowback, and let's see its accuracy. So wow, is this gun accurate? Now, I wouldn't have any other expectations from a gun like this and a gun that costs this much. I would expect this thing to outshoot me, and it definitely does. It does not disappoint in that department. As for recoil, it is a little bit heavy, but it's very smooth, and that's just because the receiver is machined so well. As I talked about, you can really feel that bolt has no hangups whatsoever, and being 10mm and direct blowback, I do expect it to have a little bit of thud, but it is completely manageable, but you definitely feel it a little bit more than you would the 9mm or 45. Now, B&T does a fantastic job by creating a hydraulic buffer system in this, which is attached to the plate in the back where either the stock or the brace is attached, and it works exceptionally well. That hydraulic buffer, I think, does a lot to kind of dampen that recoil down a little bit, especially if you're going to run this as a submachine gun and you can own one of these in full auto. I'm sure that makes a huge difference. Now, as a civilian, it doesn't really make that much difference at all, just shooting semi-auto, but as I said, as a machine gun, I think that recoil system does a lot to help you keep this barrel on target. As for the trigger, I think it is really nice. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd put it at about a 7 or an 8. For just a duty trigger, it is really nice. It has no creep, very little take up, and a short reset. But it's not a performance trigger by any stretch of the imagination, and I would not expect to have any type of like 3-pound trigger pull on a gun like this. This is supposed to be a military and police firearm, so it's going to have a duty trigger in it. But just right out of the box, it's pretty darn nice. All right, so we're now going to do what I call the accuracy portion. It's really just trying to see how well I can shoot the gun at further distances. I'm going to put the target back as far as I can at this range at 25 yards. I'm going to go for the head on this IDPA target, and I'm not really expecting this grouping to get too much bigger. It probably will just a little bit, but this gun is so awesome to shoot and feels so good in my hand. Well, let's just see if I embarrass myself or actually shoot the thing pretty good. All right, so this gun is amazingly accurate. It is so much fun to shoot, and I'm really happy with that grouping at 25 yards. You'll also notice that I'm holding this gun using the magwell hold, and that's just because I can't have a vertical foregrip on this because that would not make this a pistol anymore. It would make it an any other weapon under US law, and it's not comfortable for me to hold out here, as I mentioned, because there are no rail covers on those rails. Now you can take the rails off, but I like the thickness of the receiver with the rails on, so running rail covers would be something that I would want to do. Something else that I did notice after shooting this that the second generation or the Pro series of guns have that I prefer in the Generation 1 is the bolt release. Now the bolt release on these is a little lever here on the side. It does have ambi controls on this, and you push down to release the bolt. One thing I really did like with the Generation 1 is the fact that these were a push button. For me, this is a little bit more intuitive because the controls are a lot more similar to that of an AR-15. But probably mechanically, these are going to be a little bit more sound. And when I was shooting it, I was like, oh yeah, I don't push the button in, I push the button down on the receiver to close the bolt. Very small gripe. I don't even think it's a gripe at all. It's just a personal preference and something that I would have to train to get used to. It is probably because I shoot my Generation 1 APC-45 so much, I'm just used to that control on these guns. So now I want to give my wife, Becky, a chance to shoot this. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you what's about to happen. We discovered a problem with some of these magazines. I think I was running 1 or 2 of these magazines and didn't provide about 4 or 5 for this range report. Well, I had some loaded up for her, and we had a little bit of an issue, which I will explain. Nice job. All right, so we discovered an issue with these magazines. These are made by SHK Mag, made in Korea. Sometimes when we insert them, and right now the bolt is open, so it shouldn't have any resistance against the follower. When I insert them, it goes all the way in. Well, that time it locked in. Sometimes, especially if there's a round in the magazine, it doesn't stay locked in, or you gotta really pound it in, as compared to a stock Glock magazine. Of course, this is a shorty, and it locks in just fine. So we're having some issues, especially when the magazine is loaded to full capacity, inserting it, and it's not staying locked in, as you can see. So we may have to push the button on the mag catch just to make sure it locks in. All right, so this is what I was talking about earlier in the video when I said I'm not a huge fan of running Glock mags in PCCs. You are going to have problems because those magazines, even the things like the mag catch, are designed for a standard pistol, and they work fantastic in Glock pistols. But they have to change the whole mechanism to make them run in these lower receivers. And many times people will buy these cheaper alternatives to OEM Glock mags. Now, to defend Denton, they don't offer OEM Glock mags with this much capacity in 10mm, so you have to go to the aftermarket. I have had problems with all of these aftermarket long stick mags made for Glocks. Sometimes they don't hold the slide or the bolt open, sometimes they don't feed reliably, sometimes the springs are not set to the right tension. I've had tons of issues with them. Whenever it comes to long extended magazines, I always try to buy the OEM magazines made by reputable companies. Now, I don't know anything about SHK Mag. Who knows? Maybe they make the best magazines in the world, and people will tell me in the comments that I'm an idiot. They are the world's foremost magazine maker. Well, I just haven't heard of them. All I know is that when it comes to the APC45, I have never had a single problem with any of the B&T stick mags. These things are well built and designed for the APC. So, some of these mags do not want to go in this lower receiver and stick. And it has to do with the cutout for the magazine release. Sometimes I can get it in there. See, right now I just put it in. It's not locking in. So maybe if I jiggle it around, let's see. Okay, if I push it forward, I can get it to kind of go. And it's not locked in again. See? It's not locked in all the way. I have to push that button in to make it fit. That's just the problem with these magazines, and my wife discovered it when she was trying to shoot. So I just want to point that out for all the people out there that always ask, does it take Glock mags? I'm not buying it if it doesn't take Glock mags. Well, that's why Jason at the Texas Gun Vault prefers guns with proprietary magazines or magazines from other systems that are designed for pistol caliber carbines or submachine guns. All right, I'm going to take that rant hat over. Now we're going to load the gun back up to really give my wife a chance to shoot this thing and get her thoughts. So my wife asked me the ubiquitous question with any gun she loves to shoot, does it come in pink? Well, I don't think it does. I have seen limited runs of these in flat dark earth. Well, maybe Carl needs to make a couple of these in pink for the ladies. Maybe I can talk him into that. Well, she absolutely loved it. Well, I'm not going to use this in some type of defensive scenario. I don't know if I would want to spend so much money on a gun and use it as a home defense gun, because you guys know if you use a gun in defense, well, the police are going to take it as evidence. And having such an amazing gun like this, well, it might disappear from the police evidence locker. I've heard many stories of that happening. But let's just say you buy this and you want to use this for home defense. How would it work? How easy are the magazines to change on this, especially with the Glock lower? Well, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try to load up one of these magazines, dump it as fast as I possibly can, do a quick magazine change, get it back in action. And this is just a scenario in case I had multiple intruders invading the house, just to see how it would perform. And just because I know people are going to ask, yes, I'll put the camera out front and give you the obligatory mag dump. So one of the things you may have noticed in both of those quick shooting videos is that I have a hard time getting a constant rhythm with this trigger. It's a really good trigger, but it's not some type of race trigger. I don't know if it was because I wasn't releasing the trigger far enough. Maybe the reset's a little bit longer than what I'm used to. I couldn't get a good rhythm. I could definitely shoot this thing fast, just not for long. But it's still a heck of a lot of fun to shoot, and I can only imagine what shooting this thing with the giggle switch or in full auto must be like. It must be absolutely amazing. And that's what this gun is really designed for. This gun is really designed to be a machine gun. But being a civilian, we gotta settle for semi-auto. So what are my final thoughts on the APC10 Pro from B&T? Well, this is just one amazing gun. It is so well built, it is so attractive, it is just designed as a top tier, top end PCC that I recommend this to everybody. People ask me a lot, should I get the GHM9 or the APC, or should I hold off on all the new guns that are coming out from B&T? Well, I say if money is not an issue, go with the APC. I think this is their flagship model. The design of it is fantastic. The ergonomics are very intuitive, very much like an AR-15. Everything is where you would expect it to be. I love everything about this gun, and I don't really want to change out the grips. I know some people will change out these grips. I like it just the way it comes from B&T. I think that when they designed this in Switzerland and Carl gave them his stamp of approval, they got it right the first time. Well, maybe the second time when they came out with the Pro Series, but this is just awesome. So, on my star system, how would I rate the APC10 Pro? I would give it 4.75 stars out of 5. I'm just going to deduct that little bit of a point because I'm not a huge fan of the Glock lowers, and I had a little bit of issue with the extended magazine, which, as I said, I think this is like your only option to get a high capacity 10mm magazine in this. I got to deduct just a little bit because of that. Now, if you get a magazine that happens to run, you're probably fine. But when you buy these, you don't know what you're gonna get until you open the package. So 4.75 stars, B&T really needs to come out with their own magazines for this and a proprietary lower. I think that would just make the gun even cooler and probably more reliable. So there you go. My thoughts and opinions, B&T APC10 Pro pistol. Thank you, Denton, for letting me borrow this. It has been an absolute joy to shoot. And the more I shoot 10mm, the more I realize I probably need to pick up some guns in 10mm. So there you go. What do you guys think? Do you like the APC series from B&T? Are you B&T fans like I am? I sure hope you are, because I honestly think these are some of the best guns made today. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.